Okay, so recently Ford brought back the Bronco after being on the shelf for over 20 years. However, Ford is not the only brand to bring back a legendary model after so long. In fact, Chevy brought back the Blazer just in 2019, but who did it better? Let's check it out. Okay, now before I get too far into my video, if you guys haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to my page so you don't miss out on anything new coming out on my channel. Also, I'll be announcing the winner of my giveaway that I was doing during my truck tournament, but I'll save that for the end of the video. Okay, so at the very beginning, Ford started making the Bronco in the mid-60s.
Ford Bronco, first four-wheel drive sports car.
And it was made in direct competition with Jeep. Chevy followed soon after in 1969, making the Blazer, and these two sport SUVs lived through the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, and even into the 90s. And they were awesome. I mean, they were rugged, they were boxy, and they were just these great off-road SUVs. But by the time the late 90s came around, people weren't really looking for that anymore. And Chevy and Ford were already losing money on the Blazer and the Bronco. So in the early 90s, they were already starting to design cars that they're going to be selling in the 2000s. And since the Blazer and Bronco were already losing money, they just cut the line entirely. The Bronco was then replaced by the Expedition, and the Blazer then turned into the Tahoe, and they were gone for some 20 years. So fast forward to 2019, Chevy brings back the Blazer, and kind of like I was saying before, they turned it into a sport SUV. But the definition of sport for them seemed to have changed a lot. Instead of being this rugged off-roading SUV, it's basically an SUV version of the Camaro. If you look at the front grille of the Blazer, and especially on the interior, it looks the exact same as the Camaro. So obviously there's a ton of inspiration there, but the only downside is that it doesn't have any of the muscle that the Camaro has. It comes standard with a 4-cylinder engine, and you can get a higher level trim with a V6 that puts out just over 300 horsepower, which is pretty good, but you have to get a pretty expensive trim level to get there. And so they look sporty, but I mean, they're just basically another mom car. And so with the Bronco, Ford took it in a completely opposite direction. Instead of kind of making it another copy of what they've already been making, they've made it look completely different. It's boxy, it's rugged, and it's very, very reminiscent of the original Bronco. It even has the circular headlights, and it just looks great. And instead of basing it off of the Mustang, like I said, it's a totally different thing. And like the first Bronco, it's made in direct competition with Jeep. You can take off the doors, you can take off the roof, it doesn't even look too different from a Jeep to begin with. And there's all kinds of trim levels that you can do too. You can get a base model, which you can customize the crap out of. If you want something more luxurious, there's a trim level for that. And there are like 5 other trim levels that are all focused on off-roading. So one of the coolest things that I think they're doing with the Bronco is that they actually have marine quality interior for one of the trim levels, so that you can actually get everything wet on the inside, and they actually have drains in the floorboard so that you can drain the water out after it gets wet, which is pretty awesome. They also have a trim level that can come with a passive 4-wheel drive, so it'll be set in 2-wheel drive most of the time, but if it senses that it needs more power, it'll turn on the 4-wheel drive for you without even having to do anything. And for anyone who actually likes driving a lot, we all know that driving stick is way more fun than driving automatic. So you can get the Bronco with the 7-speed manual transmission, and if you don't, you can still get the 10-speed automatic transmission, which is still insane. That's a huge transmission. The only downside that I kind of see is that a lot of the trim levels come standard, again with the 4-cylinder engine, which can kind of cause problems having a smaller engine in a bigger car, but you can get it with the V6, and their EcoBoost V6 engine is actually really awesome. It puts out a ton of horsepower, over 300 horsepower, more than the Blazer. And I've driven cars with that engine in it, and it's pretty great. So they've not only created this Bronco that's rugged and oriented towards off-roading, you can also get it as a 2-door or a 4-door, and so it has all these options that make it sporty, but also family friendly if you really want it. If you want it to be kind of urban, it can be. If you want it to be totally off-road and rugged, you definitely can do that. And so, at least in my personal opinion, I think Ford did the Bronco so much better than the Blazer. And honestly, if I had the money, I would totally get one of the new Broncos. These things are just awesome. Anyway, so there are my thoughts on the new Bronco. Again, like I said, if you guys haven't yet, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on anything new. And if you guys want to buy some cool car t-shirts, I'm actually selling my t-shirts on Etsy now. And like I said, I'd be wrapping up my giveaway today, and I put all the names into a random name selector on my phone. And the winner was Quint Kraling. So I'll be getting in touch with you and I'll send a shirt your way. Anyway, so that's it for me. Like I said, if you guys haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.